All right, so Josh, you just shared your testimony. For Thriving Divers that are watching this individual episode, I want to encourage you to go back to the main testimony that the Josh Medina shared about his life from middle school, high school, all the way on to where he is now, and how the Lord, to use your illustration, is blossoming you through the cracks as a beautiful flower. Didn't you share that about someone? Okay, good. Yeah, you're blossoming quite well, Josh. Not to be weird or anything, to compare you as a flower, but yeah. So in your testimony, Josh, you shared a couple talking points that I want to circle back to. So the first one is this. In your testimony, and again, Thriving Divers, go watch his full testimony for context if you would like.
If you want to hear me talk for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, him babble for 45 minutes. You know, I'm like, all right, hurry up. No, it's a good word. It's a great testimony. Check it out.
2x speed.
Yeah, that's the beauty of YouTube. You can watch things in 2x speed, 100%. But in your testimony, you shared about how, one, you're an enneagram 2.
Yep.
And I don't know how everyone feels about the enneagram. I think it's a great tool, great resources. I don't put all my faith in it per se.
Identity in it.
Exactly. Some people treat it like it's a spiritual gift assessment, like it's the Holy Grail per se. You know who you are. And then some people discard it altogether. I think both extremes are kind of wrong. You just use it as a tool, but don't put all your faith in it. But anyway, you mentioned that you're a 2, and you said a 2 is a helper.
Yep.
So my question for you, and in the testimony that I've referenced multiple times already, you shared how you're a helper and there's a desire in you to be liked by people.
Yes.
So my question for you is, how do you balance, and maybe you're still learning how to do this, how do you balance helping people, but not helping people so much so that you're liked by people, right? So maybe helping people just because you are a helper, right? That's who you are, Josh. You like helping people. But sometimes you can fall into an extreme of, now I'm people pleasing and I want to be liked by people. So how do you walk that tightrope?
I think one is boundaries of, this is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I'm going to extend, and I'm not going to overextend. Because once you get past that overextending point, then you're just draining yourself, and you're just going to be exhausted by the time you're done helping so many people. Because you can't help everybody.
True.
And you can't do everything for everybody. You can't be like this therapist for everybody, which is what I definitely tried to do in 7th grade. You're talking kids out of which is not what a 13-year-old needs to be doing. You know what I mean?
100%. Get the professionals involved.
So you got to set those boundaries of this is it, and I'm not going to let you cross this, and I'm not going to cross this. And that's how we're going to stay healthy and safe.
Yeah.
Because I think to keep yourself healthy, you have to keep your mental space safe. And you do that by setting those restrictions, because restrictions are good. Too much freedom is the bad thing. You go to Cheesecake Factory and it's like a billion things on the menu. I love you have no idea what to get. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, but then you go to a place that has 4 things, and you're like, well, I can only get one of these 4 things.
Wow.
And you're not stressed about it. You know what I mean?
It's good.
So those boundaries and restrictions definitely help you. And I think the other thing that has definitely helped me a lot is acts of kindness where you can't get anything in return.
Ooh.
And so not helping people for the sake of wanting to be liked and wanting to be, get something back out of it, but doing something that can never be repaid. You know what I mean?
That's good.
You give money to someone who needs it, and you don't expect anything from that, or doing something for somebody and being like, no, you don't gotta pay me for this. I'm gonna pay for your food. I want to cover you, but don't try to pay me back. I want to do this for you. And so, I mean, those involve money, but obviously there's other things you can do.
True. Yeah.
Go pick someone up. Go, get something for somebody. Help them with some task that they have, or an assignment, or a chore, or something. There's a lot of things that you can do that you can be like, don't repay me. I want to do this, and a good thing is paying for the person in front of you at a drive-through. You have no idea who that person is.
Yeah.
They can't repay you ever.
Yeah.
And you're doing something just kind for the sake of being kind.
That's good. Awesome. So 2 things, guys, if you didn't catch it, is 1, have boundaries as you help people, right?
Yep.
Can't help everybody. I've heard it said that helping people, or to use a churchy word, ministry, is a black hole. You can always be helping somebody.
Yeah.
It never ends. It's
dangerous.
It's unlimited lists, pretty much. So have boundaries, and then also do things for people that can't do things back for you. So that helps us steer away from the temptation to do things with ulterior motives, right? If I scratch Josh's back, maybe he'll scratch my back later. Please don't scratch my back.
I'm like all the time on it.
Yeah, there you go. And actually what you said, Josh, reminds me of a conversation I had recently with my boss. Shout out to Pastor Nate here at Pathway Church. He and I were talking about, well, I asked him because just some context, Josh, Nate, and Nate, don't get a big head here if you're watching this, but like Nate does a good job sympathizing with people.
Yeah.
I think he's an Enneagram 8. I don't know the Enneagrams that well. So he's not necessarily a 2 like you, but he is a helper. He helps people, right? He empathizes with people. He gets burdened for other people's burdens, right? You can feel, you can like see that he is understanding what you're sharing with him.
Yeah.
Right. Like he's sympathizing with it. And for me, I'm kind of a little different where I, unfortunately, am maybe a little more calloused, a little more insensitive to people's problems or feelings. And I don't necessarily feel that weight of their pain and things like that. I'll pray for them. I'll love on them, but I'm not like, it's not going to drag me down,
From
right?
a distance,
Yeah. So I was talking to like, what is that balance of empathizing with people, but also not carrying everybody's burdens, right? Having a savior complex. I'm not saying he does have one, Nate. I'm not saying you have one. But yeah, so what is that balance of, having a heart for people, but at the same time, having those boundaries that you're talking about, right? So we didn't necessarily, there's no simple answer to these questions, right? It's not like if it was simple, then everybody, a lot of nuance, and everything is very contextual too, to your situation. And that's why walking in the Spirit is so important, Josh, because the Spirit will show you where you need to, all right, press in more to this person's problems, help them out, or no, let's scale back. This is for somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And having that freedom to do so, right? Because if you have a heart that desires to be loving and helping the people, it's kind of hard sometimes to pull back and let someone else dive in and do it. Because someone else's problem might be someone else's blessing type thing. So it's not your job to take care of that need. It's someone else's, right? So that's kind of the an idea to kind of compound on your idea with the boundaries, right? Really be in the Spirit, and the Lord's going to show you when you need to press in or we need to pull out. You can't save everybody. And there's also, I've heard it said, you can't pour out of an empty bucket. You can't pour water onto somebody if you're empty yourself. So that's another component, obviously, to take into consideration as well. But then lastly, though, as you're saying, if you're doing things to be pleased, so that people are pleased with you, I'd really check yourself before you wreck yourself type thing. Because I'm similar to you in that way, Josh. I want to be liked by people. I want to have a great reputation in the community. Oh, when people hear James, they're like, oh yeah, James, he's great.
Amazing guy.
Yeah, awesome guy, right? And that can, nothing wrong with wanting to get a reputation, right? But at the same time, it can become an idol, right? It can become the thing you worship, and people become the thing you worship as opposed to God. So, Any final thoughts on that first question about,
I think, what you're asking Pastor Nate about, I definitely struggled with that for a bit of like empathizing too much of like, I need to carry everybody's burden. Yeah. Not for the sake of like being a savior, but like, I don't want them to have to deal with this. So it's like, I got to extend myself so that they don't. Right. And so that's like such a dangerous place to be, because at that point you're like taking on way too much than you can bear. And it's not sustainable. So at some point you're going to collapse and you're going to break down. And then that's going to be a lot harder to get out of than if you set those boundaries beforehand.